Hello and welcome to another episode of Talk Back here on Timveni TV. My name is Kim and today we are going to be looking at the topic of power outages and alternative sources of energy. Blackouts have now become the norm here in Malawi, with some areas experiencing several hours of load shedding and other areas experiencing more than 24-hour periods. Without a doubt, people's lives and businesses have been impacted by this, so we went ahead and we dug a little deeper and we had conversations with the public, but we also got a chance to sit down and talk with the country director of Community Energy Malawi, Mr. Edgar Bayani, and this is what he had to say.
Community Energy Malawi is an NGO that is slowly evolving into a social enterprise. We started as an output of a project funded by Scottish Government. The program was called the Malawi Renewable Energy Acceleration Program, and it started in 2011. It was implemented by quite a number of organizations and institutions in Malawi, including Concern Universal, Polytechnic, the Mzuzu University, Mulanje Renewable Energy Agency, and then in Scotland we had University of Strathclyde and Community Energy Scotland. So in the course of implementing that program, there arose a need for a Malawian organization that could spearhead the community energy agenda in the country. So Community Energy Malawi was then established, modeled after Community Energy Scotland, to be a Malawian organization that is membership-led and with a mission to enable Malawian communities to generate sustainable energy solutions to meet their energy needs. And our vision is affordable and sustainable energy for Malawian communities. And perhaps the other question would be, how do we achieve this mission? Yeah. We do it through 5 mission objectives. The first one being networking of renewable energy organizations. So we are like a mutually supportive network where all these rural organizations, renewable energy players can network. We also do it by awareness raising on potential of renewable energy. I think we still have a long way to go to exploit our potential in Malawi, and it is our duty to sensitize and inform the people of Malawi on what is the potential of renewable energy. The third goal is capacity building. We look at building the confidence and the capabilities of communities, because we believe renewable energy can be best exploited by the communities themselves, because they are the ones that use renewable energy technologies now and again. The fourth objective is lobbying and advocacy for a conducive regulatory framework for the country. So we now and again speak on behalf of our constituency on issues to do with policy and regulations. And lastly is funding and fundraising for renewable energy. I think you will appreciate that some of the local organizations are probably in the deep off-grid communities. They might not be able on their own probably to put up an application. So we help them in that process and fundraise and fund the particular renewable energy project. So in brief, that's what we are as Community Energy Malawi. In Malawi, I think our energy has been like electricity. Is probably, we should say, 99% hydro, which is a renewable energy. And I think that is worth commending ourselves, patting ourselves on the back. Currently, over 80% of our household energy needs are made by what we call biomass or firewood and charcoal, which again is another renewable energy, except that perhaps it is being exploited unsustainably. Yeah, so going forward, I think it's indeed very important that we look at other alternatives. The blackouts have become order of the day, and it's indeed a concern to the business sector, essential services, and indeed to everyone else. We must also mention that only 10% of the population is connected to the electricity that we are talking about. So out of the 17 million plus population that we have in Malawi, it's probably around 1.7 million Malawians that access this energy. So what it means is we still have about 16 million people in Malawi that don't have access to electricity, in which case renewable energy technologies could be part of the solution. Now, you've asked me what other sources can we exploit.
Yeah.
I'll just quickly mention the potential of renewable energy in Malawi. We have got potential for solar. I think this is quite massive. Zarengera, Dr. Zarengera and friends from the University, they commissioned a study and they looked at it to say in Malawi we've got close to about 21.1 megajoules of sun per day per square meter. I think this is quite a lot. We also have about 1.4 gigawatts of hydro potential. That is using the small rivers, not just looking at the Shire and all these other big rivers. We also have 7,000 gigajoules per annum of crop residues that could also be used to generate electricity or any other forms of energy that could supplement on the situation that we have. We also have 50 non-geothermal potential sites in Malawi with a potential of 200 to 400 megawatts. This is according to our colleagues at the University as well. And then under the Energy, the program that is a precursor to Community Energy Malawi, they did a study and they found that in Mzimba we've got a site where there is potential for wind, harnessing the wind to generate electricity, close to about 50 megawatt of potential. And if you look at this 50 megawatt with the current installed capacity, if we can exploit this, it would be like 14% jump from what we are now. So we have all these potentials that can be exploited, meaning that even though we're experiencing blackout, but we are like a deer or a goat that is suffering of thirst towards all the lakes and in the water. As Community Energy Malawi, our focus is mainly on the decentralized sort of systems or mini-grids. I think for a definition, a mini-grid is an isolated system separate from the main electricity grid network that consists of the generation and distribution of electricity to a local community. So in Mulanje, for example, there is the Mulanje Energy Generation Agency that has tapped into the hydro potential in the mountains of Mulanje, and they're generating electricity and supplying electricity to a community there. Actually, the community is 24/7 electricity, not what we're experiencing you and me here. As Community Energy Malawi, we have also done initiatives from 2011 under the Community Energy Development Program, which was one of the strands under MRIP. We installed close to about 43 projects across Malawi. This is like the rooftop solar systems, production of clean cook stoves, as well as selling of solar lanterns. And just this year, we are in partnership with UNDP, with of course funding from UNDP, Government of Malawi, the Government of Scotland. We have started implementing another microgrid in Mchinji, where we'll be generating electricity from solar and supplying it to homes. We're starting with about 100 homes, and then probably next year we might be going into 250 or so. And our goal is to connect the whole community, which has got close to about 880 households, and they've got some agricultural enterprises like dairy farming and irrigation using the electricity. So we are doing that, and then I know practical action with again funding from the Government of Malawi and the Scottish Government. They're also doing a similar initiative in Usingini, and then there are plenty of other small players in Mzimba. I think in Katabe there are plenty of them that are generating electricity from hydro, probably very small streams, but it's working. So there are indeed initiatives that are tapping into, except that they are being uncoordinated, and probably they are more or less like just a pilot stage. There hasn't been a situation where I've managed to tap into these things commercially on a larger scale, where we can really demonstrate at a larger scale to say this works. So probably the initiatives that we're doing now leading into all that, and they will show the world that indeed in Malawi we've got this potential. As Community Energy Malawi, we've just now entered into a partnership with Natural and Solar and other suppliers outside the country, and we're trying to bring in solar systems, home systems that could power a fridge, probably give 5 or 6 lights, can power a laptop, probably even a TV in a home, and this system has to be on what we call pay-as-you-go model, where you will be paying monthly and then you own the system afterwards. So this can happen. For the houses that are on ESCOM connection, what it means is they can also have this rooftop solar system, there is no harm. But then I think there has to be later on a system whereby if you are generating from your solar and you're also going to ESCOM, definitely if ESCOM is on, it means your solar is generating and this energy will be wasted. So there has to be a way of utilizing this energy, probably pushing it back into the grid, so that it is used for other things. In which case, for that to be done, ESCOM has now to produce what we call these feed-in tariffs. In which case, one should be able to sell this excess energy that we are generating to ESCOM. And I think, as you might be aware, currently, ESCOM and the Genco, they haven't even agreed on a cost-reflective tariff. ESCOM is buying power from a Genco, but they haven't even agreed. So in other words, if these two big players haven't agreed, probably it is pretty much difficult for you and me on our very small 10-15 kilowatts electricity to be fed into the grid. So until that is resolved, that cannot. But meanwhile, there is no harm in you having your solar system, because already you're experiencing 12 hours of load shedding. I don't think that is good for the home. And solar is a good solution to that. So back to your question of how are we sensitizing the masses. As Community Energy Malawi, we've got regional officers across the country, and our work, we always work with the community-based organizations, with the district councils, and currently we've got 3 projects. If you look at all those projects, there is an element of what we're calling increasing active citizenship in energy, in which case we are sensitizing the communities, helping them to know about renewable energy, as well as how can they demand energy-related services from their duty bearers. So we are organizing initiatives like district learning links, where we bring the duty bearers and the communities together, and we let them discuss issues of energy. And we are also even backstopping district councils on how to mainstream energy in the development and the budgetary processes in the respective district councils. So with one project, we've even gone to the extent of training extension workers on the renewable energy toolkits that we have, but as well as on guidelines on how they can plan energy in nexus with other development priorities. So we are doing everything possible, and of course one initiative is what the Timveni has just done today. Will be on TV, and obviously the country will see. Yeah. Obviously it will be sensitized, and 1 or 2 people will know about renewable energy technologies.
So how do we tap into renewable energy without actually depleting or causing destruction to the environment around us?
Good question. How can we make use of the potential that we have? As I've already said, the government is looking at the national grid, the big projects, beautiful. That's excellent. We need those for the industries, drive the economy and all that. But for me, or for us as Community Energy Malawi, we've got probably, we can propose 3 or 4 ways. The first one, mindset change. I think in Malawi currently we always have the thinking that energy or electricity is ESCOM. Other than that, there is nothing. And then there is also this attitude change. People have to think, have to really appreciate that hydro can exploit even on small rivers. It's not just about the Shire, Bua, or North Irukuru or South Irukuru, no. Even on the small rivers, as the guys are doing in Mzimba and Kadabe, you can exploit it. We have to also change our mindset that you cannot do a lot with the solar. I've heard people, even sometimes as educated as myself, saying you can't cook with solar. No, you can cook. What it means is you need a system designed to suit those needs. Yeah, so that mindset change has to be one of the things that we need to work on. The second one, for us, we are saying we have to encourage what we call decentralized mini or microgrids, as I've already indicated. Instead of people in Nchinji to tap from the grid, probably they can generate their own. In Nsanje, currently there are 4 microgrids being, I think, managed by FISID, among other things. That's the Foundation for Irrigation and Sustainable Development. Community Energy Malawi is doing a mini grid in Nchinji. Plug Action is doing a mini grid in Usingini, in Rumbi. Mega is generating energy in Mulanje. And this location doesn't need to get the power from Unkula. They are generating from within the community, and if anything, they will even be exporting it to the nearby communities. Decentralized energy grids are a way to go if we are to exploit it, because they are cheap, they are convenient, they are efficient, and at the same time, you are assured of power. Since it's a small grid, you can manage it. Unlike this big grid, when the particular substation there is a problem, it means the whole area is affected. We also see that we have to do a little bit of research as well. I think to exploit these mini grids, probably government has to come in to step in, sort of like support more initiatives that do these things. Research worldwide has shown that a community of people that has close to a density of 250 people per square meters, and they're probably 5 kilometers from national grid, are better off served by a decentralized grid. Government can use the resources, for example, under the Rural Electrification Program, to do some studies, identify some potential sites for decentralized grids, and probably encourage private sector and the communities to take charge in that. Yeah, so lastly, also say we have to encourage productive use of energy. When we give energy to the people, we give electricity to the people, must be able to pay. For the people to be able to pay, they need to have a source of income. So if we encourage these productive uses of energy, chances are that people will do more income generating activities, have some cash, and then they'll be able to pay for the services. So for us, we are saying we have to exploit it, one, by encouraging decentralized mini grids, develop more business models around that, encourage productive uses of energy, and then let us free up the resources. Instead of just looking at the extension of the national grid, let us support these small initiatives.
Okay, so according to some projections, Malawi's population is expected to be 20 million point many numbers after that by the year 2020, and 26,583,781 by the year 2030. And there's also expected further increase over the several decades that will follow, with a projected figure of 43,154,607 by the year 2050. How can we as a country actually accommodate this increase in population, which will result in a greater demand in energy resources, especially the use of electricity?
National energy policy, which is like the blueprint for energy in the country that all of us will contribute towards to its achievement. There is that mention to say we need to increase access to electricity for our population. Actually, you'll be surprised to learn that electricity or access to electricity probably has even a direct bearing on controlling a population. I think for countries like Egypt, where they have now close to 99% access to electricity, it was surprising that fertility levels immediately were controlled, just because with electricity, entertainment, you have several other forms of entertainment other than entertainment that people always enjoy. So there is that direct correlation with access to electricity. Usually it also results in lower fertility levels. Yeah. So we can really exploit it. For example, solar, you don't need a very big place to do so. If all of us were to put on our rooftops solar panels, I think we could be generating a lot. Recently, Kenya has just launched a very ambitious program or project. They have used on a shopping center, they have used the carport, the roofs, to put the solar panels there, and they're getting close to about a megawatt from that. We can do that. The other thing is to do with the proper management of our streams and rivers. Already we are complaining with Shire that probably there's a lot of situation and all that. If we can manage our rivers, make sure that we protect them, we can generate our hydro from there and harness it and still manage within that. And lastly, with electricity, what it means is there is usually improved services in education and in health. With an educated population, chances are that we cannot even hit the 43 million that we are talking about, because we are told, or research has shown that women who are educated, they usually do better in terms of managing their, families and all that. Yeah. So what it means is, for those that are exposed, educated, chances are that they have lesser children as compared to those that are not. So with electricity, we can as well cover some of those things. So as I've already said, it's a multifaceted thing, but then it doesn't stop us from exploiting hydro. Actually, I would even say you can generate biogas from human waste. So with more human people you have, the more potential for biogas you have.
And to people who immediately think that renewable energy sources such as solar are very costly, what is the actual reality of adopting a solar system?
In this industry, we usually avoid giving a blanket or just a nominal figure, just to say it would cost this much, because people have got different needs. What you could need a solar system for in your home is not what I would need for. I can require a solar system in my home that should power my cooker, probably power my TVs and all that. That one would be higher than someone who just wants a system for lights. Yeah, so it is very difficult for me to say it costs this much, but then the cost depends on what you want the system for. It all depends on the design. But back to your question, it's indeed true that in Malawi people have got that, I think that solar is expensive. Yeah, the initial costs are very high because you have to spend more to install. But then if you look at the long term gain, the payback period and all that, you'd find that this is cheaper, because when you do a solar installation today, probably it will take you 7 years with the current technologies, 7 years or even more to replace the batteries. A solar panel probably takes 25 years before it loses its potential, and then I think current research shows that after 25 years it only loses about 5% of its efficiency. So you've got something that you put it today, you can use it for a longer time, and the payback period is good. But then the big challenge that we have as a country is that Malawi, we are a landlocked country, and then when we are getting things, we are importing probably everything on solar. We are not manufacturing anything here. So what you should also consider is when we are importing these things, there are transportation costs that are involved. Of course, we are thankful to government that they have managed to work, still remains on most of the products. But it's expensive, because you have to either get it from South Africa, Dar es Salaam, and then put it on the road. And then in Malawi, we know that probably close to about 30% of our costs are probably covered under transport. So when you build into all those things, it might end up, of course, appearing to be expensive, but we have to look at it from the long term. The challenges that we're experiencing now, for someone who has a solar system installed 2-3 years ago, probably is enjoying more than someone who is on ESCOM. This is the reality that we are in.
So we had the chance to go out into the streets and speak with some members of the public, and these are some of the comments that they had to make.
It's very terrible. It's very terrible. Life is not doing the same. Things have changed. A lot of things are happening.
Okay.
It's very, very terrible.
So how exactly has your life changed as a result of it, for you and your family, if you have?
Yeah, because I use electricity to boil my water for bathing to go to work. But now because electricity comes in at 11 p.m. and goes off around 3, so I have to wake up around 3, boil my water for bathing and all that. So it has changed my life. I sleep very little. We use charcoal or firewood, but it's not easy because firewood is expensive, charcoal is expensive, and it's scarce these days. So life has been so hard.
So in your own opinion, if you could provide a solution to this problem, what would you do?
The government would have done something. I don't think there's any solution to that a mere man can do, because the government knew of this problem a long time ago. It was there last year, it was there 2 years ago, it was there 3 years ago. It is there, it has always be there. I wonder what the authorities up there are doing over these things, but it's still recurring. I don't understand why.
I think the worst part is work. Like in our building, we don't have a generator yet. They're sorting that out. When the lights do go out, it sort of slows us down a little bit. And then it's work. It's our way of living. It's our basically it's our business. So it slows things down. You can't do certain things. You can't get work done in time. So it's really frustrating. I think when they just started getting bad, it was really bad. It affected. We were very slow, and we're known for our speed. That's how supply chain works. It's speed. So, but then we've adjusted because we found other solutions to the problems. We sort of worked ourselves an alternative, just not to be affected so much by it.
So if you were asked if you could propose a solution to this current situation, what would it be?
Well, I'll be honest, I don't know the engineer side of ASCOM, but I'm sure there must be a solution somewhere and someone must have an idea of how to sort it. As for me, I don't know how, but if it was in my trade, I would have an idea, but I think someone must have an idea to sort it out. I mean, there was a time we didn't have this.
Ngitsakazima monga ngati menda ndinamutori mabusiness ambiti mapangita pa magetsi ndinokhabe ndi njira yoti muna mwake ndimadzikamamiza ngati kwa ine ndi mapower bank anga apo amene ndimatha kuchaja cholinga kuti mu nthawi imene ndingafuna kupanga business yanga ndilumikizanabe ndi anthu through phone pangati phone magetsi azima phone so ililo ndi kuti zayidziwikire business ina yonse singathe kupanga koma ngati ndina ndi power bank taitaoni ndimathabe kupanga kulankhulana ndi anthu ngati choncho.
Kwa ine ndikozonena kuti vuto kuti mwina mwake lite ice cream mwina ndamene amadziwa kuti malo akutaya kuti sali bwino ndiye kumene amapanga kwa ICC ndithu kuti azipanga zinthu zoti magesi azikhala okwanira ku chaka chonse.
So that's it for this week's episode on Talkback here on Timveni TV. We've been looking at power outages and alternative sources of energy. If you would like to join in the conversation or to contribute your own thoughts and comments, you can always head on over to our Facebook page, Timveni TV. Like us, comment, and leave your messages there. You can also tweet us at Timveni TV, and we'll be sure to include your thoughts in our next episode. Until next time, you've been with me, your host Kim, and remember to keep the conversation going.